Hey, you made it. This is part 3. If you haven't seen parts 1 or 2, please click on the links below and I'll also place the cards up above. Story beat 12. First half of efforts, turn on characters. Bad guys close in. Doubt, jealousy, anguish, shame, and internal discord begins to erupt around our main characters. Meanwhile, the antagonists of our story band together and plan their merciless onslaught on our main characters. They bring in the big guns. In other words, they strike the MC and the MC's allies when they're at their weakest. The forces that are aligned against the hero, internal and external, tighten their grip and choke out our MC and his allies. And when the protagonist's descent feels like it can't get any worse, it does. Story beat 13. All's lost. Remember when I mentioned in the Break into Act 2 section how the protagonist's response to an obstacle prompted by the thematic premise will decide how intensely you must beat down your character later? Well, this is where you do it. So now think about what you like to do in order to break down your main character. Got it? Good. Now multiply that by 4. What is the worst possible thing that could happen to your main character? Yeah, pick that. This must reinforce how important your thematic premise is to your main character while keeping him alive. If you're trying to kill your main character, don't do it just yet. Death is most certainly involved in this beat here. All is lost is synonymous with death. So the protagonist's best friend, family member, or character who your protagonist just can't live without is brutally murdered, or something like that. Now, it doesn't have to be a literal murder if your film's a lighthearted comedy, or your film's tone wouldn't work very well with that kind of darkness. If you have one of these kinds of stories, then the point here would be to allude or strongly suggest the death of something. The death of a relationship, the death of an ideal, the death of something. This is meant to represent to the audience that the MC's old way of thinking is dead.
Family comes first. Family comes first.
Snyder calls it the whiff of death. Story beat 14, the dark night of the soul. Here is the moment that you really need your audience to truly feel what your MC is feeling. Because this answers the question, how does your character experiencing this moment feel about what just occurred? It can last a few seconds or even 10 minutes. This is your main character's deepest, darkest moment externalized. Really put this moment on display for your audience. He's hopeless, clueless, wasted, beaten down, buried, and burned. But then he'll rise up from the ashes and your MC will emerge, reborn, afresh. Which brings your protagonist to your Act 3 revelation. The MC's deepest, darkest moments leads him to this aha moment, the solution to his problems, thanks to the characters found in the B story, thanks to all of the conversations discussing the heart of the movie, thanks to every single painful loss, the external story, A story, and the internal story, B story, collide.
Tell me, would it be so dangerous to let Mary Jane know how much you care? Everybody else knows.
I'll be right back.
The synthesis of Act 1 and Act 2 gives your MC this startling revelation. He's dug down deep and found this solution. Now all he has to do is apply what he's learned in the grand finale. Snyder. The classic fusion of A and B is the hero getting the clue from the girl, B story, that makes him realize how to solve both, beating the bad guys and winning the heart of his beloved. An idea to solve the problem has emerged. Synthesis. Story beat 16. Finale. Resolution. This is where the lessons learned in Act 1 and in Act 2 are applied. The A story and the B story end in triumph for our hero, or the hero is defeated. The original source of the problem is typically dispatched of for this new world order to exist. This must be done in an emotionally satisfying manner. Your audience must certainly feel something here.
Misery, misery, misery. That's what you've chosen.
The best endings will be somewhat of a hybrid melancholy mix of a super emotional high and an extreme low, as this feeling mimics many of real life's finales.
Don't tell Harry.
Story beat 17, final image. This will be the opposite of your opening image and be proof to your audience needed that tells them that change has occurred. Now I'm going to answer one final question for you, and it's called an act break. What's an act break? We've got one after Act 1 and another one right after Act 2. Some act breaks are more obvious than other act breaks, but an act break is simply the moment where we exit the old world in the previous act and enter the new world in the next act. Act break smoothly transitions our audience to the next phase of our story. Thesis, Act 1, Antithesis, Act 2, and Synthesis, Act 3. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll talk to you next time. See ya.